Remember, all life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. And I do a new experiment each year when I saddle up and ride cross country with my brothers. You see, it's been said, there will be 2 dates on your tombstone and all your friends will read them. But all that's really going to matter is that little dash in between them. So the next time you're contemplating on going for a ride, stop and just go ride. That's right, law-abiding biker media coming at you with another motorcycle documentary film. It's an early morning, but a gorgeous morning. Can't wait to get going. And although I was super excited to get started with this day, it may have actually been wiser to just go back to bed and start over the next day. Wait for it.
Sequence.
Yeah, not such a good sequence, but makes for great slow motion. Broken mirror, left mirror, we'll have to deal with that later. All right, and a broken clutch lever. Luckily it's an aftermarket lever and I have my original, so I gotta make a quick swap. Let the guys know I'm gonna be a little late. You see, when you're a running and gunning documentary filmmaker, it seems you're always in a hurry and, well, weird stuff happens. But hey, at least I got it on film. So, let's start this over. You see, I wasn't about to let this little mishap ruin my trip, and I had to quickly get it out of my head that this was some sort of indication of things to come. This upcoming 8-day, 3,000-mile trip was simply too important for me to become distracted this early on, as it had some very important purposes in no particular order. The first reason? Well, the obvious, to film this documentary. As a creator, I feel so blessed by God that I get the opportunity to ride cross-country each year and create these motorcycle documentary films and then share them with the biker community. These films are truly passion projects for me. The second reason was to ride and hang with my true brothers from the Sworn Few Law Enforcement Motorcycle Club. Sworn Few club members ride often, but we have one colossal road trip scheduled each year, and this was it. I really can't explain in words the bonding and brotherhood that happens during these trips, and memories of a lifetime are made each year. The last, but certainly not the least of reasons, was to meet and ride with the beloved patron members of Law-Abiding Biker Media. These yearly events are about 9 months in the making, and the entire crew looks forward to them each year as they continue to grow in size. These special events are only for patron members, and we like to treat them special, as they support us financially, and by doing so, they support us and our mission to help and entertain as many bikers as we can worldwide. So let's go ahead and kick this documentary film off right here. So this trip, like any good motorcycle road trip, was filled with unexpected happenings along the way. Ending up in this thriving metropolis was just one of them. So the question is, how did we end up in Fredonia, Arizona? At an old service station, working on Oscar's bike in 95-degree weather. And the other question is, how do we end up in the middle of nowhere, the same place, with Popeye on the phone with the salesman thinking about buying a new Harley with a 114. Will he do it? I don't know. So let me take you back to day one of this trip to see what led up to us being here in the first place. All right, here we are, day one, Yakima, Washington area to Boise, Idaho, 454 miles, 8 hours saddle time, of course some gas and lunch stops. Let's get going. So the start of this first day was simple. I needed to get to Starbucks for a quick pick-me-up and meet up with Lurch and Oscar, who were patiently waiting for me. Well, sort of patiently waiting. What's up, Lurch?
Just waiting on your slow ass.
Dude. I would then have to explain to them about the morning mishap and that I needed a new left mirror for my bike. We didn't waste too much time as we needed to get going to the Rattlesnake Harley Davidson dealership in Tri-Cities, Washington, about an hour east of us, where the rest of the crew was awaiting us. Oscar, you ready for this?
I'm ready to rock and roll, brother.
Let's do it.
Slightly sexy, a bit deranged, slapped a bandit on the outbound one-gone train.
We throttled down and took Interstate 82 all the way to Kennewick, Washington, and met up with the rest of the crew who were waiting at Rattlesnake Harley Davidson for us. Oh, and I needed that new left mirror still, and my fingers were crossed they'd have one in stock. So, Rattlesnake Harley Davidson JR always takes care of us down here.
Good morning.
I need a mirror. My bike fell off the lift this morning.
I think we can handle that.
I think you guys probably have one in. So,
yep, I'll go find
is the man. Ask for him if you come down. Tri-Cities, Kennewick, Washington.
Thank you.
So apparently, Rattlesnake has, I think that's it. And it's the last one on the rack. Lucky. Lurch is going through to make sure we got everything we need. Do you approve it? Is it all the parts we need?
Yes.
All right. It's going to give me at least 15 more horsepower.
Absolutely.
You guys ain't even going to be able to keep up with me. And the new bike fever set in on Popeye day one of this trip. Lee, you going home with the new bike, bro?
I doubt it.
Before the end of this trip, dude, you're going home with a new bike.
I'm trying not to. We got to quit stopping at dealerships, so.
Lurch is going to put my mirror on in Boise, but we're going to throttle down for now. We still had a good solid day of riding ahead of us to get into Boise, Idaho, and we were running behind. Not unusual for the first day of a trip, I must admit. And yeah, some of that was my fault. We got right back onto Interstate 82, and it's not far after you leave Kennewick, Washington, that you cross the Columbia River and into Oregon. A short time later, you get off I-82 and onto I-84 East. We finally had the entire crew together, and we were all excited about what this trip would bring. It's always an exciting feeling when you are back riding in a group with your true brothers and know that you'll be having good times and laying down miles together for the next 8 days.
What if Jesus had brothers singing songs?
Luckily, we didn't have to spend too much time on the interstate. At Pendleton, Oregon, we got off to head south on 395 towards John Day, Oregon, and then hit Highway 26 and head further southeast towards Boise, Idaho, our final destination for the day. Highway 395 is highly regarded by motorcycle enthusiasts, so I was excited to experience it for myself. We made a quick stop for some snacks, gas, and to catch up on the happenings in each other's lives, as many of us live in different parts of Washington State. It was heating up quickly to the mid-90s, so we were all ready to hit some cool mountain air. Highway 395, here we come. And if you're in this part of Oregon, I definitely suggest hitting Highway 395. Enough said, you can see why. You have beer here?
What is...
Yep, thumbs up, 395. Thumbs up.
You got an inner rear.
Cold beverage. So Big Daddy here decided to bring the Indian chieftain on this trip. Why'd you do that, Big Daddy?
Well, I wanted to test it out to see the difference between that and my road glide, and give it a really good testing. See how well it does on a long 7-day trip.
Lurch,
Yo.
you recommend 1188 Brewing?
Yeah, some good food, good beers, good
John
place.
Day, if you're in the area, definitely stop by.
Find yourself lost and then John Day,
That's right.
stop by.
And I was thinking that Highway 395 before lunch was going to be the highlight of the day. But let me tell you, I was pleasantly surprised, as there is nothing to complain about on Highway 26 as we headed southeast towards Boise. At least it cooled to 85 degrees going through the mountains of Highway 26, but after that we dropped elevation and the landscape flattens out considerably. It didn't take long to warm up to near 100 degrees as we worked our way towards Boise, Idaho. It was just plain hot and we had to make a stop in Vail, Oregon for some gas and to hydrate ourselves. One of my favorite parts of riding cross country is meeting awesome and interesting riders from all walks of life. And this was one of them. I like that bike.
Oh, nice.
I like that bike. Where are you going?
To my ranch.
Oh, you live here?
I got a ranch out here.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Very cool.
I've got that bike 54 years now.
Is that right?
Same Harley, man. I'm less than the Mohegans, man. I didn't me either.
Yeah.
Kickstart, never had nothing else. Rigid frame still.
I gotta see it real quick. Take it easy, bud. We got back on the road quickly, and the best riding of the day seemed to be behind us as we barreled towards Boise, eventually riding freeway miles the rest of the way in. It had been a long, hot day, and we couldn't wait to get to our hotel. Hey, Popeye. We have a lot of Boise stories. Are we gonna make some new ones tonight?
No.
Okay, that's what we always say, right? Sounds good. We got a lot of Boise stories. We're gonna make some new ones.
Probably not tonight, it's Sunday.
Boise is the capital and most populous city of Idaho. It is located on the Boise River in southwestern Idaho and has a population of around 225,000, making it the 99th largest city in the U.S. Forbes reports that Boise is one of the top 25 fastest growing areas in the U.S., coming in at number 1 on the 2018 list, and that Boise will maintain that trend. But of course, with becoming a big city, you also get the big city issues. Unfortunately, I've seen all those problems progress over the years. But for now, if you're riding through, I'll say that it's a great place to visit and stay over. We've ended up in Boise almost every trip we've taken in the recent years, as it ends up being a good in-between point for us. I'll admit we've had some wild times here, but today was Sunday evening, and it was docile in comparison. We were all tired, and I could feel a contentedness among us from the great riding we had this day. We had a nice evening ride downtown, and we ate at 10 Barrel Brewing, and I highly recommend it if you're in Boise. The food is great and the beer is cold, with a great selection.
Old Boise is not the same town.
Not hopping on a Sunday.
No, not hopping on a Sunday.
We decided to call it a night early and headed back to the hotel. Once there, Lurch and Oscar installed the new mirror I had bought in the parking garage. Riding without my left mirror sucked, so I was super stoked to get a new one on before the next day. So there you go, guys. If you're not carrying the cruise tools, emergency roadside kit from the Law Abiding Biker store, you've got to, because we use it a lot, and it'll get you out of a pinch for sure, get you back on the road. And it was probably a good thing Boise was calm and that we went to bed at a decent time, because that would not be the story the next night in Jackson, Wyoming, when the guys cut loose. Get ready. Here we come, Jackson, Wyoming. All right, day 2 here. We are headed from Boise, Idaho to Jackson, Wyoming. 345 miles, 6 hours saddle time. Supposed to be only 65 degrees in Jackson today, so that'll be a nice relief compared to the 95 here in Boise. This was a bit of a shorter day for us than the day before, so we spent a little more relaxation time at the coffee shop in Boise, getting our blood flowing and prepping for the day's ride. Look who showed up.
You're going to have a nice place to study outside. It's coffee time.
It is coffee time, dude. You better get some coffee up in you. And we were on the road right at 8 o'clock a.m., and it was a beautiful morning to ride. Our trip started out with some straight up freeway riding via Interstate 84.
I know that you're strong, but life can be furious and things can go wrong. You go, we're better off tomorrow, but who knows if we get.
Luckily, that would end when we exited at Mountain Home, Idaho, where we get onto Highway 20 to head due east towards Jackson, Wyoming. First, though, we gassed up at Mountain Home, and Lurch readjusted my left highway peg that was still pushed in from the day before when my bike, well, you remember what happened. Look at that. Rick Rack magnet gas cap keeper. Sweet. After our quick break, it was time to lay some miles down via Highway 20, and I must say, the first section was amazing.
We might be lost, but not forever.
After that short section, Highway 20 turns into a long two-way road, and there's not a ton to see, besides a lot of cheatgrass, sagebrush, and farmlands. But it didn't matter, as the air was cool, and I was riding with my brothers. We couldn't waste too much time this day, as we wanted to be in Jackson no later than 4, as we had a little adventure planned. Along Highway 20 between Cary and Arco, Idaho, sits the Craters of the Moon National Monument and Preserve, which was established on May 2nd, 1924. We've been by Craters of the Moon several times on past motorcycle road trips, but this time we decided we'd stop and actually check it out. Way to care for the environment.
Do your part. Do your part, America.
Craters of the Moon. Pretty cool. I wonder if you can drive back in here. There's like roads and stuff. Let's go drive back in there and just see real quick and bug out.
Off to your left over here, you'll see the craters of the moon.
Nice, dude.
Lava flow.
What is
We're
that
at about
stuff?
5,900 feet right now.
And if you see Popeye, the unofficial park guide, when you show up, I definitely suggest turning around. But hey, he did have a good start that I'll now finish. The Craters of the Moon National Monument and Preserve encompass 3 major lava fields and is about 750,000 acres in size. There are campsites, caves to explore, hiking and viewing areas inside the park that you can drive through. An annual U.S. Parks Pass will get you in, or you can pay up on entry. And I must say, it's worth checking out if you're riding through. If we stop again someday, I'd definitely like to check out some of the caves. And about 20 miles to the east of here is the thriving metropolis of Arco, Idaho, with a population of about 1,000. There's only a couple choices of places to eat for lunch, so we based our decision on where we were most likely not to get sick. But hey, we found a little gem, and it's called Pickles Place. I will mention that this was Cowboy's first very long road trip, and he was doing it all on a non-touring bike. But he was starting to realize some of the pains associated with that decision. How you holding up on that bike, bro?
Yeah, not doing bad. I had to put the chaps on though. I was getting pelted with rocks.
Oh, yeah.
I got a couple good ones on my right leg.
Doing good, man.
Minus the seat. The seat's about 120 miles, and it feels like a rock.
So you get a new seat when you get home?
Yep, that's the next one.
One of the best things about traveling cross country is meeting other bikers and talking to them about where they're going. And there's a whole group in here, and just awesome to meet people from all over.
Red is bad. Red, you're dead. It'll be all right.
If you can see the skies behind me, but it is not looking good. We're trying to get our lunch and get going. Maybe we'll beat that storm. Pickles Place had good food, and the staff was biker friendly for sure, so I recommend it if you're ever in Arco, Idaho. The weather was not looking so good, so we put on some extra gear because if you don't put it on, then it will most definitely rain. We were back eastbound on Highway 20 quick-like and headed for our final destination for the day, Jackson, Wyoming, and trying to stay ahead of that storm. Highway 20 east of Arca was flat and mostly straight, and we just laid down miles, knowing the awesome riding that was coming as we got closer to Jackson, Wyoming. The best part is that we seem to be staying ahead of the storm. We reached Idaho Falls, and it's here where we got off Highway 20 and onto Highway 26. The riding just keeps getting better as you barrel down towards Jackson via Highway 31 and finish out on Highway 22. It's awesome mountain riding with lots of corners. Get here if you can and ride it. And yeah, we hit some rainy weather, but that wasn't going to ruin the moment. At least it mostly is done raining, I think. But it smells great. Oh, the fresh rain, the trees, the forest, wow. And that smell just does something to your soul. So peaceful up here. And remember when I said earlier that we needed to be in Jackson, Wyoming by 4 o'clock p.m. for a little adventure we had planned? Well, this was it. We arrived at Jackson Hole Ski Resort and we were going to ride the gondola to the top to an elevation of 10,450 feet. And a couple of the guys didn't want to face their fears. Hey, you guys coming on the gondola?
No, there's one thing you'll never read on my tombstone, and it's Matt Couchman fell off of a gondola, or a gondola fell off and killed him, or anything like that.
Height's not going to work for you today?
I'm just not a fan. It's not a fan.
But I respect Lurch and Big Daddy for saying so. On the other hand, Squid was all in and not going to let his fear of heights rule him.
Ready for this? Actually, I am, and I don't like heights. Yes, I am.
Oh, nice!
I've developed a slight fear of heights.
Tell Lurch tell Lurch and Big Daddy what wusses they are.
Well, Big Daddy and Lurch, look in the mirror. You'll see a wuss.
He's coming, even though he's scared of heights.
Fearful.
You got to conquer your fears. Fearful, not scared.
Yeah.
You got to conquer your fears. Lurch, Big Daddy, that's a testament.
I'm calling you out.
Yeah.
Yet again.
That's
You're
right.
not here.
Passengers, buckle up. Buckle it up.
Oh, there are no seatbelts.
Should have brought your helmet for this ride, dude.
Yeah, should have.
No.
Ma'am, will you do me a favor? This guy behind you is afraid of heights and he's probably going to cry. Will you hold his hand if he...
I'm not going to cry much.
We will go over 5 towers, and as we do that, you'll feel the tram car swing a little bit. But other than that, it's going to be a pretty smooth ride, and you should feel free to walk around the car.
And what an awesome experience this was, and it quickly reminded me of my place in this world. So if you make it to Jackson Hole, it's $45, but totally worth the $45.
Absolutely worth every penny.
You heard it from Oscar too, so park your bike and get up here. And after that beautiful gondola ride, the group all met up at the base and visited the Mangy Moose, which is a great little restaurant and saloon, for a cold beer and to reminisce of the stellar day we'd had so far. We headed out and into the city limits of Jackson, Wyoming, which has a population of about 9,500. If you can get here, spend a day or two, as it is a great little town with lots of character. We arrived at the Virginian Lodge, where we'd rest our heads for the night. And you know you've arrived in Jackson when this happens. Dude, there's a stinking moose going through town. There's a moose. That is awesome, man. The Virginian Lodge is nothing to brag about. It's overpriced and is in severe need of an update, but It works for a bed and a shower, and I've been in worse. Across the parking lot and a short walk away is the Gun Barrel Steakhouse, where we gathered up for dinner. We were all hungry by now, and this place was an awesome last-minute pick. The atmosphere, food, beer, and service were all great, and the steaks were done to perfection. Definitely stop in if you're in Jackson. And just when you think this fun-filled day was over, nah, it was time to Uber over to the $1 Million Cowboy Bar to see what was shaking. It became abundantly clear once we got there that the boys were ready to cut loose and finish this day out right. And lasting memories were certainly made. Everyone eventually taxied back to the Virginian Lodge, some of us earlier than others. I tried to go to sleep, but I kept having a recurring nightmare that Lurch and Big Daddy were dancing together. That'll keep anybody up.
All right, up bright and early before everybody else. I got to get some stuff done. A little bit cloudy this morning, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be a beautiful day. Beautiful ride, 267 miles, and we're headed for from Jackson to Salt Lake City. Some windy roads. We're going to hit Highway 89 and Bear Lake, and it's going to be beautiful. So I'm going to get packed up.
Hey, Corey.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic.
How's those legs? Because they might be sore from all that dancing.
Oh, man. I'm feeling good.
$1 Million Cowboy Bar always delivers.
Where's that right there?
Right over there.
That's where it's at.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna text
you. Are you guys proud of your decisions last night?
Yes.
Yes, it was a great decision.
Let's do it again
You guys
tonight.
look-
You guys keep going. We're gonna stay here.
How you doing this morning, Scott?
I am here.
Did you sleep with your helmet on?
No, I slept next to my helmet.
Okay, all right. As you can see, kickstands were up later than usual this morning, but that had been pre-planned because of the shorter distance ride this day. However, we did need to get to Salt Lake City, as we had a food challenge there for Oscar to partake in. We left Jackson, Wyoming around 10 a.m. and headed south on Highway 89. It was a bit brisk at 45 degrees, but we knew it would warm up as we headed south, snaking along the Wyoming-Idaho border. This guy's got dance moves
there?
like no other.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, you got some moves, bro.
How you feeling after a night on the town in Jackson?
Dude, I love that place.
Dude, that's a fun town.
That
Jackson
town is awesome.
Monday frickin' night, and you're out there,
Yeah.
and going
Live
on and
music
Yeah.
all night till 1
exactly.
in the morning.
Good
That's
band.
crazy.
Remember the band's name?
No.
Oscar, you
Just
remember
open.
that guy's the band's name?
Anyways, we don't know what the name was,
No,
but they were good.
Online,
I hope he dances some more this trip. And I interrupt this program for Deep Thoughts by Popeye.
The only problem with people who don't drink, when they wake up in the morning, that's the best they're gonna feel all day.
Nice call.
Amen to that. Amen.
And I interrupt this program again for Deep Thoughts by Big Daddy.
Feels like America. Feels like America in an Italian pipe, and I'm wearing an Italian helmet. On an American motorcycle with metric bolts. America should just go metric.
And that's only tobacco Big Daddy's smoking.
I don't know what I can do. Haven't slept for a week or two, and it all is breaking down on me.
What a great ride we had, and it was only about to get better. But first, it was lunchtime, and we made our stop in Fish Haven, Idaho. We ate and relaxed at a family-owned and operated restaurant called Cooper's. This beautifully located restaurant sits in the middle of a golf course on a hillside and overlooks beautiful Fish Haven and Bear Lake. The food was good and the staff was kind. I had no idea this place was so beautiful when I had researched it on the internet. It was absolutely serene, and I very highly recommend visiting if you're riding through. The best part right here starts of 89 as soon as we leave lunch between Bear Lake and Logan, Utah.
I thought this last part was good. It's going to get better, huh?
Dude, you ain't seen nothing.
All right, looking forward to it.
Telling you, man.
Good riding.
That's right. The best part of Highway 89 was upon us, and I've ridden it before, so I knew what was in store for the crew. And you climb elevation quickly out of Garden City, Idaho. It doesn't take long to get to an area where you can oversee Bear Lake, so make sure you stop here. The rest of the ride to Logan, Utah? Well, it's better explained without words.
Everybody's searching. We're searching for the same damn thing. We're sick of being stuck on the outside looking in. Gotta play the devil. We gotta get to work on time. We gotta tell the whole world all about everything. Giving yourself to yourself is a crime. Take me away. I wanna go. Nobody really needs to know. Just take me away. Take me away.
Oh, and what a ride that was. We made it into Logan, Utah, and it had warmed up substantially to 85 degrees, much warmer than the 45 degrees it was in Jackson earlier this morning. We had about 75 miles yet to get into Salt Lake City. We continued on Highway 89 south out of Logan, and it's still beautiful riding with green rolling hills, but turns to freeway riding. We'd eventually have to get off Highway 89 and hit I-15 to finish the day out, and it wasn't the best riding of the day for sure. All right, we're just getting off at Salt Lake City here. And you know, I've been through around Salt Lake a lot, just past it. So this will be the first time actually in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City is the capital and most populous city of Utah, with an estimated population of 200,000. The city is the core of the Salt Lake City metropolitan area, which has a population of about 1.2 million. The world headquarters of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is located in Salt Lake City. It is a beautiful city with green hills and peaks in its background, and it seemed much cleaner than the many other large U.S. cities I visited. Of course, around Salt Lake City, there is a plethora of things to do for motorcyclists and any outdoor enthusiast. We only stayed at the hotel for a very short time and headed out. Destination, Lucky 13 Bar and Grill, where we had a food challenge for our willing participant, Oscar. Well, kind of willing, because I set him up for it, as Oscar is no stranger to food challenges. Corey?
Sure.
Have you ever been part of a food challenge or
No.
besides on TV, like seeing a real expert like Oscar here?
No, I have not. I've only done shoving his face full of meat.
Yeah, well,
This should be interesting.
he's a trained professional. You don't even know it. Oscar doesn't even need to prep. That's how good Oscar is. He doesn't even need to prep.
I might do a couple of push-ups inside.
And of course, we're now in Utah and starting to realize you can only get 4% beers. What are we drinking?
It's an IPA, but it's awfully light.
I don't think you're gonna like it.
It's a light.
Yes.
What is it called?
It's called not a very good IPA.
All right.
4% beers?
Oh my God. And we'd have to deal with that stupid issue the rest of our time in Utah.
Yeah. There's no way. Yeah.
You can do it.
There's no way.
Dude, you're all over it. Stay strong. Stay strong, man. Warning, what you're about to see is that of a highly trained professional eater and bullshitter. Law-abiding biker advises you not to try this without proper training and proper peanut gallery to assist. So the challenge here is to eat a 28-ounce foot-tall bacon burger with the fixings, fries, and another 14-ounce burger stuffed between 2 grilled cheese sandwiches and littered with roasted habaneros, roasted jalapenos, and finished off with habanero puree. Oh, and the fries. You have 1 hour to finish the entire meal, and if you do, you win $200 cash, a place on the Wall of Fame, and the meal is free. The record is 12 minutes 18 seconds, set back in 2016, and holds. And while we were all rooting for Oscar, we all had a reasonable sized meal. And let me tell you, the burgers are phenomenal here. And when Oscar got to the second burger with habaneros, that's when he broke down, as most people do, because it's ridiculously hot. And even though Big Daddy loves spicy stuff, he too had to tap out, but he made it about 10 bites. And then there's Lurch, who stepped up to the plate. And, well,
it's not bad. Just got a little kick. Perfect for my allergies. A little hot. I can't quit it. It's actually burning the skin in my mouth. It's getting hotter.
So it's no joke. Wow.
Oh, it gets worse too. Oh my God.
It's helping his allergies.
Oh, he's hot.
Hang on. Number 6. This is funnier. You can handle it. This is funnier. Dude.
Oh my God.
They're not joking, huh? That's the real deal, dude. Your eyes are watering.
That's hot. Oh my God.
So you don't recommend people try this?
No. How could you eat that?
And even though Oscar couldn't finish, my brothers and I all had a blast. And I give Oscar an A for effort. We called it a night early, and I had to prep for the next day, which everyone was looking forward to for good reason. Excited. It is Patron Member Meetup Day 2019. Get in the shot, man.
Say
hi to YouTube.
There it is there, man. YouTube, Salt Lake, we out here.
Have a good day. And if you're not a Patron member yet, there's no better time to get signed up. This is just one of the many benefits of the meetups. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. I will link to it in the description below. Join the biker revolution. So we headed out on our bikes to get this day kicked off. Truth be told, I always get a bit anxious on Patron member meetup days. Not because I'm nervous to meet the Patron members, but that I'm always worried that everything will go well and that everyone will have a good time at the event. It is truly awesome what these events have become over the past years, and each year they grow in size, which is humbling and so inspirational to me and the crew. And we arrived at the Harley Davidson of Salt Lake City dealership, and I always look forward to meeting the Patron members in person. You see, I've come to know so many of these genuine members online and in the private Facebook group, but meeting them in person and shaking their hands is something very gratifying to me. And in each area we've hosted an event over the years, one or several special Patron members step up to the plate and assist with the planning and organization of the event. We could not do this without members such as this. This guy is the man. He is my contact down here in Utah, and he coordinated with me and made this entire Patron event happen. So thank you, man.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. I'm glad I could do it, and glad you guys are here.
Patron members.
Share the state.
Always amazes me. Always amazes me. And we have a great ride coming up and a dinner event. So
yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Carl Quist.
And meet the Tilsons, who designed and funded special event t-shirts. And remember at the beginning of this documentary when I told you Popeye was flirting with getting a new Harley? Well, Patron Meetup Day didn't stop him from his mission.
Popeye, dude, calling your name. That is pretty. I like that color. Popeye's heading in the sales office. Just grab a pen, dude, sign it.
And it's awesome that these events draw members from all over the world to include.
Can't believe this guy. David Schwartz from Israel. Look at this guy, man.
This is so cool.
It is very cool to meet you in person, man. What's up, buddy? It's going to be a great day.
Oh, yeah.
And after we completed a safety briefing and got to know each other a bit better, we headed out for the planned ride and event, and God had truly blessed us with amazing weather. And after riding for a while, we stopped for a quick break, which included time for visiting and members getting to know each other better, which is a big part of what these events are all about. And it was off to ride Bald Mountain Pass, which is Highway 150. We were going to try to make it all the way to beautiful Mirror Lake, but it had been an odd year, and even in June, Carl feared the road may not be plowed or open all the way. We set out anyways to make it as far as we could. We rode as far as we could before the road was closed. It felt so good, and it had cooled to 50 degrees from the 95 it was to be in Salt Lake City this day. We were a bit short of Mirror Lake, but could not make it any further for safety. That didn't stop us from bonding and enjoying this day and the awesome beauty at 10,700 feet elevation. Breathing the air and taking in the surroundings was nothing less than spiritual for me.
Bald Mountain Pass, Utah, 55 degrees, 10,700 feet elevation, and absolutely awesome crisp air. This is what it's all about.
Do you feel in your heart that I do understand? Come on with me,
And although we didn't want to leave this beautiful place, we had to head back down Bald Mountain Pass, as we had more surprises in store for us. And on the way back, we got to visit the Utah Olympic Park, and everyone really enjoyed it. Built for the Salt Lake 2002 Olympic Winter Games, Utah Olympic Park is located in Park City, just 25 miles east of Salt Lake City, Utah. The nearly 400-acre venue houses one of only 4 sliding tracks in North America, 6 Nordic ski jumps, a 2002 Winter Games museum, and a multitude of adventure activities. Everyone was enjoying the Olympic Park, but we had to leave as we had to get to a city park in Salt Lake City that we had reserved for the main event of the day. This day had been absolutely perfect so far, and that would continue as we arrived at the reserved park in Salt Lake City. We had a fully catered event for the Patron members, and I literally can't tell you what it's like for us here at Law Abiding Biker Media to sit, talk, and bond with like-minded bikers from all over and from all walks of life. It's an experience that I am truly humbled by each year. These events are not just about the Law Abiding Biker crew meeting the members, but the members meeting each other and networking. This community has grown so much that now Patron members are setting up rides and events amongst themselves. And that makes me smile ear to ear. It's all about bikers connecting with bikers. We were excited because at this event we had many raffle prizes donated from sponsors such as Rick Rack, Zero 3D, Bug Slide, Bike Bright, Cruise Tools, and a few other items from the Law Abiding Biker store. The sponsors mentioned truly care about the Law Abiding Biker community and graciously donated. And that's why you can find any of their products in the official Law Abiding Biker store. I couldn't have asked for a more perfect event that truly, I know God had provided for us. It's been said that all good things must come to an end, and it was unfortunately time to say our goodbyes. The next day would be a big day for us, and we had to get back to catch up on laundry and get some much needed sleep.
Oh yeah, nice day. All right, so losing a couple guys today, that always sucks. Big Daddy Kane, Lurch, they got to get back for different reasons. Big Daddy Kane's getting back to the law-abiding biker store. Nonetheless, the rest of us are pressing on, and it's an exciting day because we're going to ride Mount Carmel Highway and Zion National Forest. Beautiful day, really looking forward to this. The trip is not over, but I will tell you, I need to get some coffee because on these long trips each morning, you're just a little more tired.
So we headed out from Salt Lake City via the I-15 slab with jammed up traffic, of course. Our final destination for the day would be St. George, Utah. This would be a 355-mile ride with 6 hours, 15 minutes saddle time. Now, we've ridden much longer days, but this day would be one of our more grueling days of the trip for several reasons, and you'll see why later. We finally got off the I-15 slab at Spanish Fork, Utah, and headed south on Highway 6, and what a pleasant change it was. Highway 6 was absolutely beautiful, but the temps were warming up quickly this day. After Highway 6, we got onto Highway 89, which starts very scenic. But then turns to straight, wide open roads as far as the eye can see for many, many miles. Although this is not the best riding of the trip, it was still beautiful in its own way. The winds were really picking up, and we throttled down and worked our way south through Utah. We'd eventually make it to Richfield, Utah, where we'd make a stop for lunch at Winger's Roadhouse Grill.
What's up, Brian? How's the ride this morning?
Good. I like the canyon. It was nice and fun.
It was nice.
Some nice twisties. The road was pretty good. Nice and smooth.
Zion's coming.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It's going to be the highlight of the day.
The staff was friendly and the food was good, but
4%, 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%.
I guess we're getting 4%.
we were still fighting that special Utah 4% beer rule, and nobody is really sure why it exists when you can still buy hard alcohol if you want.
Fingers.
Sticky fingers?
It's 50 cents cheaper than the large.
How many do you think you can eat?
No, knock it off.
And Oscar was in no mood for another food challenge, but I thought I'd try. We left lunch and continued our mission south through Utah via Highway 89. Cowboy, on his non-touring bike, was fighting the winds right away. Nothing changed on Highway 89, and it was the same wide open straight roads while passing a small town now and then. The temps were now at 95 degrees or so. We encountered severe headwinds and eventually some very nasty crosswinds as we tried to fight our way south. We all just powered on, knowing what was coming later. And as you barrel down on Mount Carmel Junction, where Mount Carmel Highway starts on the east end, the riding starts getting beautiful again, and you know you are getting close. And we finally made it to Mount Carmel Junction.
Oh, it's going to feel good to unass. It was a long haul.
We took a break here at the junction in Mount Carmel, and the best part of the day is about to happen because we're going to head west on 9, I believe, and ride through Zion National Forest. So still very, very windy. Hope that subsides a little bit. We headed out and entered Zion National Park on the east end, and your National Park Pass will get you in, or you can pay up on entry. And once you enter, you just shut up and ride, taking in the beauty. There is a place we stopped and hiked in, and it's called the Canyon Overlook Trail. Parking is not ideal, but that's the benefit of riding a motorcycle, because you can usually squeeze them in, and we did. So we're in Zion National Park, and we found a parking spot for the bikes, which was lucky, but there's a canyon overlook, just a little hike here, and that's where we're headed. And although it was about 95 degrees out now, we set out on our hiking adventure. The hike is not that difficult, and it takes about 15 or 20 minutes. But if you're fearful of heights, then you might not like it in certain places. But Squid was a master of heights now after conquering the gondola in Jackson Hole. He's like a professional rock climber. Look at this guy. Oh my God. There you go. What are you doing taking the trail? I thought you could scale. Goats can scale rock walls like that, man.
I didn't want to leave you guys behind.
And once you reach the top of the trail, it's beautiful, and you should definitely spend some time there. It's a very warm day, and it's a bit of a hike in to the overlook, but if you can get parking, definite must stop. Oscar, what say you? Is it worth stopping and hiking in?
Hell yes. That was badass.
You heard it right there. Do it.
Yeah, definitely worth it.
We headed back out on our bikes, and it was not far when we hit the Zion Mount Carmel Tunnel. Construction of the 1.1 mile tunnel began in the late 1920s and was completed in 1930, and at that time was the longest tunnel of its type in the U.S. The purpose of the building of the tunnel and this highway was to create direct access to Bryce Canyon and Grand Canyon from Zion National Park. We continued our ride through Zion National Park, and it was just amazing and well worth the ride that got us here. We left Zion National Park and headed for our final destination of St. George, Utah via Highway 9, which was about 50 miles away. We fought more brutal winds and near 100-degree temps the entire last leg of the ride. We were all beat up from the day of riding, so we showered up and walked to a restaurant close by our hotel, as nobody had any real energy left. We visited the Black Bear Diner and had some simple dishes such as chicken pot pie and chicken and waffles. We really needed a cold beer, and learned a trick this night to the Utah 4% rule. You see, if you buy your IPA in a can or bottle, you can get the higher percentages, which makes the 4% draft beer rule in Utah seem even more absurd. And prior to dinner, there were whispers of riding to Las Vegas for the evening, which is about 2 hours ride one way, but the enthusiasm quickly subsided after dinner, as I think everyone was absolutely beat, but I was ready to roll cameras if it happened. Instead, we had a few cold beers at the hotel and went to bed like old men. And this was the day we'd all been waiting for, and the reason for this multi-state road trip in the first place. Yep, it was officially Grand Canyon Day, and I was up at sunrise with excitement on this beautiful and peaceful 70-degree morning in St. George, Utah. St. George is located in the southwestern part of Utah, and the city has a population of about 90,000. The St. George metro area has a population of about 172,000, and it is in the top 3 fastest growing metropolitan areas in the U.S., according to new estimates from the Census Bureau. The city was named for 19th century LDS Church apostle George A. Smith. We set out early for this exciting day. We take I-15 for a short distance, then get onto Highway 9, alt Highway 89, and finish off on Highway 67 to take us into the north rim of the Grand Canyon. And let me tell you that riding in the 70-degree weather this morning was very welcome by everyone after the windy 100-degree day we had prior. This day was running smoothly so far, but that doesn't mean the entire day would go smooth, as we'd run into an issue that would put us in a very peculiar situation. But we'll get to that a bit later. For now, we were just barreling towards the Grand Canyon, and the roads are flat, boring, and things are dry as you cross into northern Arizona from Utah. You're basically just laying down miles, so you can eventually get to the North Rim. Once you get past Fredonia, Arizona to the south a ways via Alt Highway 89, things start quickly getting beautiful again as you gain elevation and enter the Kaibab National Forest. Things cooled to 60 degrees and the ride was great.
So we're in Jacob Lake, and it's beautiful. It cooled down to like 50 degrees, so feels good. Back in the forest after the flat riding this morning. I think everybody's excited to hit the North Rim. Have you been to the North Rim or South Rim?
Neither.
Oh, you have? Oh, I thought you. Oh, okay. Sweet.
No, I've ridden.
Oscar's the only one, but he hasn't ridden it.
I've never ridden.
Corey, you been to the Grand Canyon?
Nope, first time.
So we headed south out of Jacob Lake on Highway 67, and just when you think things could not get any more beautiful, they actually do. You got to get here and ride this. Put it on your bucket list. Over the years, motorcycles have given me the ability and freedom to see places that I've never seen. Believe it or not, at age 46, I had not been to the Grand Canyon before, and this was a big item for me to check off of my life list of things to do. It was something I needed to see and experience for myself, and what better way than on a motorcycle with my brothers. Nobody with the crew had been here before except Oscar, but it was his first time on a motorcycle. And we officially arrived at the north rim of the Grand Canyon, and we set out on foot to check this place out. Words really can't explain the beauty of this place, and God gave us absolutely perfect weather.
So we're just on a little jaunt, nice little trail out to the edge, and there's a lookout point out here. Gorgeous so far, just the hike out here. Very excited to be here. We are top of the world. Beautiful up here. What'd you think, Popeye?
Pretty awesome.
I could sit out there for like hours, just sit up there on that rock.
Recommended stop right there, brother.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. That's awesome.
That's a bucket list item.
Beautiful.
Do it. And get here on a motorcycle, not a car.
Yeah. And it's a whole different experience.
Way better, yeah. There's a saloon over here.
Thumbs up. The saloon's open and we're not in Utah, so more than 4%.
Oh, nice, dude. That's right. We're out of Utah. Sweet. We can get real beer. Real beer, Squid. We're not in Utah. They have real beer here. It's going to be nice. Tired of drinking water in Utah. Corey, you agree? Real beer? You don't realize how much you miss it until you go to Utah.
Now, we're just having fun joking about Utah beers, so don't take it personal if you live there, because we absolutely love riding in beautiful Utah and have met a ton of very cool bikers there. We ate lunch at a nice little saloon at the North Rim, and I could sense that we were all at peace with what we'd experienced this day, and I had personally fulfilled this item on my life's list. I'd really love to return here again someday. Unfortunately, we knew that we needed to head out and get back to our hotel in St. George, Utah, so we hesitantly did so, and of course, the ride out is as beautiful as the ride in. So, you may remember that I started this documentary film with these very questions.
So the question is, how did we end up in Fredonia, Arizona? At an old service station, working on Oscar's bike in 95-degree weather. And the other question is, how do we end up in the middle of nowhere, the same place, with Popeye on the phone with the salesman thinking about buying a new Harley with a 114. Will he do it? I don't know.
Well, let me explain. You see, it all started on our way back to St. George from the North Rim, about 2 miles north of Fredonia, Arizona, on Alt Highway 89, and it had warmed up to near 95 degrees.
Do you feel it, or is it like a sound?
I can feel it. And it's right here, and when I press on it, it goes away. So look at that.
Oh, those are loose, dude.
Yeah.
Those are your crank breather bolts that go all the way through.
Well,
tightener.
We turned around to get back to Fredonia, to a safe place off the highway so we could diagnose and hopefully resolve the issue with Oscar's bike. And if you're curious what's in Fredonia, Arizona, well, absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing, except for the old abandoned service station we found, which actually served our needs well. Now, we have many great stories to tell when we go on these long motorcycle trips, but it's interesting that the unexpected incidents like this make for some of the greatest stories and memories of the trip, because they are completely random and unplanned, I believe. We always bond during these moments and make the best of them, and that's why I love making these documentary films, because there are no scripts and things just happen.
I don't know, it might be a cruise toolkit. Oscar, here you go.
Oh, what do we do?
Wait. We could call a tow truck and spend a whole bunch of money, on a simple repair that we can do on the side of the road. Or just buy one of these. Oscar is using the cruise tool multi-tool to get these off there. How cool is that?
I'm gonna use the cruise tool.
And that's an additional tool that I actually add to our regular cruise tool kit. And it's very, very handy because you can get some leverage on it. All available, of course, in the law-abiding biker store.
While Popeye was on the phone working numbers on a possible new Harley purchase back in Kennewick, Washington, Oscar tightened down the crank breather bolts on the back side of his air intake, and we were back on the road towards St. George, Utah. And everyone just savored the experience we had earlier this day. We stopped by Zion Harley Davidson, and we always try to have fun with the dealership staff as we visit many of them.
Show me a really cool shirt, and I'll buy it.
All right.
Whatever you think is cool.
Whatever I think.
Yeah, whatever you think your coolest shirt is here that you think I should have.
Okay.
Nice. Let me see the back. Done. I'll take one large, please. I better take a green because my wife says I wear too many black shirts. Did you get your shirt yet? Because Canyon here, she's a good shirt picker, and she picked me a shirt, and it's awesome.
Really? Will she pick me a shirt?
She will pick you a shirt. I guarantee she will pick you a shirt. You can't have the same one that I got, though.
And Squid made an easy shirt purchase like me. And it was back to St. George, and we visited George's Corner Restaurant. What a great place to end this day. And we just visited and reminisced of the day we all had. And we continued our learned technique of purchasing canned beer since we were back in Utah.
So, George's Corner Restaurant, it was really good food, good hospitality. Check it out. Back in the hotel room. It is 7 o'clock, and we've had a great day. We're going to go down to the patio and just kind of reminisce over some of the things we've got to do on this trip. And it always kind of sucks because we realize that the next 2 days we're going to spend a lot of freeway and just heading back north to get home. All right, St. George, Utah to Twin Falls, Idaho today. 489 miles, 7 hours, 15 minutes saddle time. And I want to mention that Oscar seemed interested in a bike at Zion Harley Davidson here. So I think we're going to go down when they open this morning since we're not in a hurry and maybe crunch some numbers.
So we rolled out to Zion Harley Davidson to look at a used 2018 Ultra Limited that had caught Oscar's eye the prior day. Oscar saddled up and took that baby on a test ride. In the meantime, and after 6 days of riding, Cowboy seemed to be very interested in a touring bike now.
Oh, dude, you know how nice that bike would be for touring? You wouldn't have to do the Superman move into the wind, man. Hey, we might leave here with 2 bikes. Come on, Corey. Come on.
And let's not forget that Popeye was still working numbers on a bike back in Tri-Cities, Washington. But we'd have to wait till the last day of the trip for that possibility. And Oscar returned from his test ride with a smile on his face, and the dealership personnel started inspecting his bike for a possible trade-in value. And then it began.
Let the games begin. The games have begun, the number games.
And after some back and forth, unfortunately, an agreement was not made, and that happens. You see, you always have to be willing to walk away, and we did. Well, I mean we rode away, and north out of St. George, Utah via Highway 18, as we had a long day of riding to get to Twin Falls, Idaho.
A little chilly this morning.
Dude,
time to gear up a bit.
We went on some serious.
What town is this?
Farther.
Outskirts of Enterprise, Utah. All right, rock and roll.
And geared up for this much cooler weather at about 55 degrees, we followed Oscar north out of Enterprise, Utah. And I must say it was a beautiful road Oscar took us on, even though it was incorrect.
Yeah, I knew it. I was wondering where you guys were going the whole time. I was watching it the whole time going, we are in the middle, where are we going? But I thought you knew a shortcut. Or, let's go adventure bike riding, boys. Let's do it.
And even though we took a wrong road that put us about 25 miles out of our way, no one in our group even cared. Because we're all brothers, and still in beautiful Utah riding Harleys together. And not at work. We'd work our way northwest and cross into Nevada. Our last really beautiful riding of the day would be as we snaked along Highway 319 through a small pass. We stopped for gas and a quick break at the junction of Highway 93. After that, we headed due north on Highway 93 and through Nevada, laying down miles on very straight roads for many, many miles. We were headed for the border of Idaho.
So here we are, made it to Ely, Nevada. Lunchtime.
So we had a much needed sit-down lunch at Rack's Bar and Grill in Ely, Nevada, and it felt really good to the entire crew to warm up after some cold miles we'd just laid.
Corey, this is day 6, and it's been very cold. And just long trip, and Corey's starting to get the bagger fever. This is what happens to all people that join the Sworn Few Motorcycle Club, is that within the first year, by a year, they get a bagger.
I've been thinking about it all day.
He was sitting on it today, so heated seats, heated grips.
There's a reason. There's a reason.
Attaboy, at least he admits it. So Rack's Bar and Grill in Ely, Nevada, definitely worth a stop if you're rolling through the area. And it's onward to Twin Falls, Idaho from here.
The riding after lunch was exactly the same as before lunch as we continued north on Highway 93 towards the border of Idaho, and it remained cool at nearly 50 degrees. I know we were all ready to get to Twin Falls, and just remembering the awesome times we had on this trip. We'd make a quick stop in Wells, Nevada, which is in the middle of nowhere. We'd press on and eventually go through Jackpot, Nevada, and then finally crossed the border into Idaho. We arrived in Twin Falls, Idaho at around 7:30 p.m., and fortunately it had warmed up a bit. We went straight for a good meal and cold beer. We randomly settled on Kodo Brewing Company in downtown Twin Falls, Idaho, which turns out to be an awesome place on a Saturday night, and I can't recommend it enough.
I long for you so much I can find my way.
You see, it's the little random picks like this on these motorcycle trips that surprise you and make for the continued excitement that you never know what you may come across. Kodo Brewing Company had great food and a good selection of beers. Yes, including over 4% beers. Okay, I'll let it go. We love you, Utah. The way it was set up and the ambiance was very relaxing.
And I saw you walking the line,
and it became abundantly clear that Corey was not done with this trip and had some more fancy dance moves for us as we sat outside looking in on the dueling piano show. And you should definitely see these guys if you get a chance. They were very entertaining, and we had a blast this last night of the trip because of it. And we had to call it a night at a decent time, as we had to be up super early for the last day of our trip.
Oscar?
Bro.
Since it's our last night, will you spoon me? I've been asking for 7 days.
I know, you've been begging. All right.
Please.
For a few minutes.
All right, always just a little bit depressing, but it is the final day. Yeah, 5 a.m. Guys want to get an early start, headed back home. 489 miles, 7 hours, 15 minutes saddle time. Very boring day for the most part. But there might be a little excitement later in the day. We're going to stop by the dealership, see if Popeye's going to actually do it and buy his new streetlight special.
If you ever get a chance, get up early and visit the majestic Snake River Canyon at sunrise. It sits just north of Twin Falls, Idaho. The Patron Bridge crosses the canyon and was once the highest bridge in the world when it was built back in 1927. On September 8, 1974, Evel Knievel attempted jumping this canyon on his rocket-powered cycle, but failed when his parachute deployed too soon and brought the rocket to a stop in midair. He drifted to the bottom of the canyon and barely missed going into the water. Motorcycle trips bring you many surprises. I can tell you that it was a humbling experience of pure beauty that I'll never forget.
This may be the last voyage of your bike.
See what happens.
It may be, or it may not be.
It's been a good steed. Almost 60,000 miles.
It's nice, man.
So we saddled up early for this last leg of the trip, and it was a very cool 55 degrees out as we left north across the bridge out of Twin Falls, Idaho. There's really nothing special about the riding this day, as it was just laying down as many miles as we could via Interstate 84 with very quick stops. We were just trying to make time to get to the Rattlesnake Harley dealership in Tri-Cities, Washington before they closed to see if Popeye could close this 8-day deal on a new Harley.
Shortcomings, trying to make my way, knocking on every door.
On the way, we had planned on stopping at a brewery briefly in Baker City, Oregon, but it was way too early at around 10 a.m. as we had gained an hour and they were closed. So we really winged it and ended up, well, yeah.
So we gained an hour. La Grande, Oregon is where we ended up.
In the background.
And what'd you get?
Oh, I might ate that pole.
Oh, did you?
You were filming,
I
so
bet
I wondered if it's on video.
I bet it is. That's in the background. So we gained an hour. So we gained an hour. La Grande. So we're in La Grande, Oregon. We ended up here for a quick stop. We gained an hour, so it's early. Hardly anything's open, but we found the Long Branch Bar and Eats. Hopefully it's not too sketchy.
We'll see.
We entered the Long Branch in this 1.5 horse town, and it was as if time had stopped. It's a dark little dingy bar from the past, and it's a little sketchy, but it had character. I must say that our server was super nice and the food was actually just fine. Well, we didn't get sick.
So considering we picked that on a whim, the Long Branch in LeGrand, kind of dark, but the food was actually pretty good.
We left LeGrand, Oregon and wasted no time barreling back through Oregon via I-84 towards our home state of Washington. The riding is pretty much the same as before lunch, but we ran into a little surprise. These are the special little things that you can't predict. You see, we got jammed up in traffic just south of Pendleton, Oregon, and Popeye made a decision to get around it via a county road called the Old Emigrant Road, and it was a shot in the dark. But what an awesome change it was from the freeway riding we'd been doing, and I'd definitely ride this road again. It's not the best pavement, but it's beautiful and twisty.
Sometimes it's all out of reach. Soldier on. When it's harder.
We snuck around all that backed up traffic and got back onto I-84, where we'd cross the Columbia River into Washington State. We'd soon arrive at the Rattlesnake Mountain Harley dealership in Kennewick, Washington, where this adventure all began back on day one.
Will Popeye leave on this, Squid? Is he going to leave on this bike, yes or no?
I don't know. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Oh, geez. What's the story here, Popeye?
We're putting some parts together to see what parts are going to cost. They got to go and take my bike over to the shop, and then they're going to check it out, and we'll get up with a number for my bike for a trade-in, and then we'll go from there.
Are you going to leave with the panty dropper or not?
And I always try to make time to meet audience members.
What's your name?
Skylar Pearson.
Skylar Pearson.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Nice
Ryan
to meet
Rocker,
you
buddy.
too.
Watch the videos?
Yep.
Sweet, man. Anytime,
I
buddy.
listen to the podcast all the time at work.
That's
Usually
awesome,
through the
man.
shift, so.
At least we got to the dealership at a reasonable time, as bike deals and purchases can take some time. Of course, we were all eager to get home to our families, but there's no way I was going to miss the possibility of Popeye purchasing a beautiful new 2019 Street Glide Special on the last day of our trip. And I'm glad I stayed around, because another bike caught Oscar's eyes.
Oh, yeah, I can see you on that thing, Oscar. 388 miles on an 18, dude. That's crazy.
And while Popeye crunched numbers on his bike, Oscar took his for a test ride, and then crunched some serious numbers to see if it'd work. Remember back in Utah? Oscar's deal didn't work out so well, so of course I was rooting for him. Now I'm no rocket scientist, but when I saw them swapping parts out on Popeye's bike, such as his seat, even when an actual deal hadn't been made yet, I had to believe that this deal had a high probability of going through. But things took a strange turn when... Oh, that just means Popeye bought a new bike. And as far as Oscar goes, well, the numbers didn't work for him this time either, but he gets an A for effort.
Now I'm ready to get home and see my family I haven't seen in 8 days. And 1 hour ride, and I'm going to sleep really good in my own bed.
And just like that, everyone split in different directions, and this 8-day, 3,000-mile trip with my beloved sworn few brothers had come to an end. I had a lonely 1 hour ride west to my home near Yakima, Washington, and I literally don't remember much about the actual ride. Memories of the trip and all that I experienced ran rampant in my mind, and these experiences will last me a lifetime. And remember what I said at the beginning of this documentary film? Well, let me remind you. I said, the next time you're contemplating going for a ride, stop and just go ride.
Unfamiliar to the point of no return. Stranger is the day that everything I've learned.
All right, here we are, boys.
We're at the North Rim.
North Rim.
How beautiful is this? Parking was easy. Everything's closed.
Yeah.
It's warm.
We got here early, 10 a.m., so still parking and stuff.
Technically, we went back in time.
Right, we did go back in time because we lost an hour. Yeah, you're right.
We drove so fast. We went back in time.
Yeah, we switched time zones.
We hit 88 miles an hour. That's what it was.
Oh, yeah, that's right. In our DeLorean.
Sir, are you going to let him ride that bike because his license is suspended? Did you check it? He's wanted in 5 states.